Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's Urban Design Town Hall, Gimme Shelter, Building Affordability, Comfort, and Community. AIA California provides learning objectives for every webinar and includes them in the PDF presentation that can be made available online. A few quick housekeeping reminders. Today's session is being recorded. Access to the recording will be made available on the AIA California website, www.aiacalifornia.org, along with any additional resources. Today's town hall qualifies for 1.5 AIA HSW learning units. AIA California staff will report these units for you. For today's town hall, please drop any questions you'd like to ask our panelists in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Please include the panelist name you'd like to address in your question. Finally, cultivate a positive learning environment. AIA California sincerely acknowledges the professional expertise our volunteer presenters provide and appreciates the diverse perspectives our attendees bring to the table. We strongly encourage attendees to be constructive in their comments and questions to the presenters and to one another to ensure we have a session that is productive and an environment that is a positive learning experience for everyone. I'd now like to introduce our moderator for today's town hall. Stephanie Reich, AIA Lead AP, has been improving cities in Southern California since 2003. She has managed design review and historic preservation systems for 4 Southern California cities, including the cities of Santa Monica, Long Beach, Glendale, and West Hollywood, with a focus on facilitating processes so architects can realize their best work. Stephanie is a licensed architect and prior to 2003, practiced architecture and urban design for almost 20 years with a variety of notable firms in Los Angeles and New York, including Morphosis and Studio Lipskin. As part of her commitment to the broader design community, Stephanie has a long-term involvement with AIA California, AIA Los Angeles, and Association for Women in Architecture and Design, and as such has heightened the level of discourse in urban design. Stephanie, thank you so much for moderating today's webinar. And I will now hand it over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. I want to applaud Sarah and AIA California staff for her tireless work and support of conversations like these and all of the committees for AIA California. And we would encourage all the architects in California to get involved in their local chapter or in AIA California. So I'd like to welcome everyone to our panel discussion, Gimme Shelter. I'm very excited to be moderating this discussion to illuminate 2 exceptional projects in affordable and supportive housing that assist the most vulnerable of our community members. These are modest-sized projects in smaller communities in Davis, California, with a population of about 67,000. That is about 61% white, 23% AAPI, 14% Latinx, and about 10% identify as 2 or more races. And Orcutt, with a population of about 31.4 thousand people, that is about 60% white and 29% Latinx. In addition to illuminating the unique and wonderful complexities of each project, we will be focusing on processes and community engagement. We're hoping you can take away an understanding of aspects of the project that may be repeatable in your practice and locations. For those participating, I'd like to see you introduce yourself, your organization, and location in the chat so we all know who we're talking to. We'd like this to be as interactive as possible, so please type your questions in the Q&A portion, as Sarah mentioned. Since we have 2 projects to cover, if you'd like to please keep your questions at a high level, we'll try to answer them as we go rather than just at the end. We have 2 amazing teams to share their experience and work with you. We will be starting with Maria Ogrydziak, architect and founder of Maria Ogrydziak Architecture. She's here together with Bill Pride, executive director of Davis Community Meals. Together they have worked on Paul's Place, which you'll hear about first, and Hassam Akili, who is here together with Aaron Clark, architect. He's the design architect of the project in Orcutt. He's at Lenity Architecture, and Marcia Santry, who is Senior Development Manager at Tate and Associates. She's instrumental at Tate and has been exceptionally important to the project as well. A little bit of background, more background on the program today before I introduce Maria. As the urban designer for the city of Santa Monica, I oversee the design review and historic preservation systems for the city. In Santa Monica, we are currently focused on our housing element to ensure that we are doing our part to help solve the housing crisis. I've worked on many affordable housing projects with some supportive housing projects as well. The model that has been typically initiated by one of the exceptional affordable housing developers that work in Santa Monica. As you'll learn, the projects that are topic of today's talk offer very different process models. We'll also have a little bit of a different format today. Each project will be presented, and then we'll have a discussion focused on that project. We hope that you'll put your questions in the Q&A as they come up to you, so that we will be moderating that Q&A and include those questions in those discussions. We will have time for a discussion of both projects by about 1:15. We hope that you can all stay to the end for all of the discussion. And so just the next slide, please, where we show where these projects and communities are located. So Paul's Place, that's the project that Maria and Bill have worked on, is up near the Sacramento area in Davis. That's maybe a little bit more well-known location. Then is Orcutt, where we will talk about a senior housing community that has been done in coordination with the school district there. And so we will go ahead and start with an introduction to Maria Ogrydziak, architect of Paul's Place. Maria, who I'm very proud to know and serve with Maria on the AIA California Urban Design Committee. Maria is a tireless advocate for architecture's potential for transformation that has certainly been demonstrated by the project you'll see. Her legacy of built work and programming focuses on fundamental questions of regional identity, social equity, and cultural diversity. She's been an architect for over 400 residences at a range of budgets and other models and uses such as churches, mosques, cafes, retail spaces, and the award-winning Davis Food Co-op remodel. As AIA Central Valley president, she is a real champion for the Central Valley, and on the Urban Design Committee, she's second to none in helping us understand this gigantic region. She has created the Central Valley Region's Architecture Festival, which celebrated its 10th anniversary last year, now called Experience Architecture. Maria's book, Framing the Valley, debuted at #2 on the Amazon Regional Architecture New Releases. As I mentioned, she's here with Bill Pride, the executive director of Davis Community Meals, who works tirelessly to administer the programs at Paul's Place. Thank you so much for being here. I'll turn it over to you, Maria.
Thanks. I guess Bill Pride and I have worked on this project that you're going to get to know. It's amazing that meeting him was one of the amazing experiences of my life, because as an architect, I create places that matter to people. At least I like to think so. And Bill, in his own way, is an architect because he creates programs and opportunities for people who need some way of making their way through life. And he, this building that we built, Paul's Place, which just opened in February of this year, So we're lucky actually that the webinar is now, because we get to see the building, not just the ideas. Anyway, and the building kind of echoes what Bill has built in terms of an idea, which he has worked on for decades. And I know as we go through this presentation, we're going to go back and forth, and so that you understand how Davis Community Meals and Housing, which of which Bill is the executive director, how that informed the design of the building. And I think that's really important to understand the relationship between what goes on in the building and the building itself. So to look at this building, this is called Paul's Place. And this is the first 4-story building in this neighborhood. And the idea of the building in a big picture way is it provides a journey to enter through the H in the middle, which is stands for hope and home. And the 1111 in front of it is actually 1111 H Street. So the H is kind of has a lot of meanings. It also stands for goalposts. So people who come here can work with the idea of reaching the goal that they set to come here and receive the help that will help them along their journey. So the building really is about a journey. And as we go through the slides, you'll see what the various components are. But the architecture of the building itself is a representation of the journey. So the symbolism and the colors and everything has to do with its setting in Davis, which is in the Central Valley. So before I go to the next slide, I just want you to notice that the red H stands for California poppies, which is the color of, the California flower, and the gold color of the hill is represents the Golden Hills of California, which are very prominent at times of year in the Central Valley. So it's California gold and the poppies. It's a hopeful, welcoming, warm community that we have created. So I'm going to go, Sarah, could we go to the next slide? I want Bill to be able to talk about this slide. This is, anyway, go ahead, Bill.
Thank you, Maria. Well, my name is Bill Pride. I'm the executive director for Davis Community Meals and Housing. And I've been doing this for a little over 22 years now. And we're an organization that provides services to homeless and low-income folks in the city of Davis. And this building here, when the previous slide showed the new building, this was our location in Davis that, with the help of the city of Davis, we purchased back in 1994. And the building is bigger than what the picture shows, but basically it was 2 separate family-style residences where we conjoined them. And from 1994 to June of 2021, we operated as a transitional housing program, housing 16 folks in conjugal bedroom, basically 4 people in a bedroom. And during the day, Monday to Friday, operated as what's called a resource center or day shelter, where homeless individuals and families would come by to get services we provided, such as showers, clothing, food, assistance with medical care, getting referrals to programs, and also assistance finding jobs and employment, and also housing. The building had taken a lot of use over the years. Like I said, it was a small residential building, and pretty much every day we served between 100 and 120 people a day. And we had 1 bathroom, 1 shower for everybody coming in to use the facility. And, we had done a major remodel back in 2008, 2009 to improve the facility. But even in the 10 years subsequent to that, the building had become somewhat dilapidated, needed lots of repairs. And back in 2017, I was having some discussions with some folks in the city of Davis about a way to knock this building down and put a new building in its place that would be a little more efficient for the folks we served and potentially offer a better program experience by people having single bedrooms as opposed to conjugate living. And about that same time, there was an organization in the Sacramento area, Sutter Health Foundation. And what they were doing at that time was they were putting some money into the local area to provide supports to programs serving the needy in our community in the Sacramento area. And through conversations we had with them and also some other organizations in Davis, they committed to us a $2.5 million matching grant to knock this building down and come up with some other way to serve the population. And through discussions I had with Maria and the folks she was with at the time, a place called Davis Opportunity Village, also the city of Davis and the local housing authority, we came up with a plan to knock this building down and replace it with a building that would replicate the resource center on the first floor, the transitional housing program on the second floor, and then do an additional couple of things, which was provide a third and fourth floor, which would have what's called permanent supportive housing and operate under what's called a housing first model. So in other words, we were taking folks directly from the streets who are homeless and moving them into housing units. And we had experience doing this before. I've been here since 2001 as director. And early on in my career here, housing has always been our biggest headache, frankly. I mean, if our mission is to put folks who are homeless into housing, and you don't have any housing, you don't have a lot of options in which to have people actually successfully transition from the streets back to being housed. And so back some years ago, I was involved as a partner in a program in a project in Davis called Cesar Chavez, which was built as 52 units of permanent affordable housing with 19 units set aside for homeless and low income folks. And it's billed as extremely low income units so that the folks there were SSI recipients, could afford to move in and actually afford their own housing unit. I think the rents there right now is somewhere around $270 a month for a 1-bedroom unit. Those units were all in that building were all single rooms, and all around approximately 570 square feet. Some years later, I got involved with my same partners again. We built another place in Davis called Creekside, which is 90 units again, mostly single rooms and single bedrooms, all approximately 570 square feet. And in that building was incorporated somewhere around 20 units that are set aside for folks who are homeless to move in under the housing first model. Paul's place was kind of our first foray actually into building it ourselves. And with the help of Maria and all the other folks that we worked with, we were able to with Maria's drawing, kind of come up with a plan to build it. We basically, our initial goal was with the matching grant, was to raise money locally to build it without any kind of government funding or supports to basically avoid some of the cost increases you get with taking public money. And as we went through the process of getting the building approved and on the drawing board and getting our building permit and actually starting construction, pretty much, this all happened right after COVID started. And so our original building estimate, which at the time back in about 2018, 2019 was a little over $4 million, by the time we got to the point of actually putting the construction out to get a final bid and get an actual construction contract, with COVID cost increases and material increases, now somewhere close to $5.5 million. And so we were fortunate enough to raise a lot of money locally. I think we raised about $2.7 million to make sure we met the match. But then what we had to do was also go in and ask for some money from the American Rescue Plan for both the city of Davis and the county of Yolo to actually have enough money to finish the construction of the project. And luckily they were amenable to doing that, and they gave us the final money we needed to kind of finish the project, which was finished back in February of this year.
Okay, great. Sarah, could we go to the next slide? So I think we've gone over this. Maybe maybe the important thing to notice here is the bottom sentence. Research shows that the cost of community emergency services decreased by 50%. See, I can't see through the slides. And anyway, and that supportive services are most effective when people are housed. I think Bill described the process beautifully, and so I think we're our community going through this process really stepped up, and so many people in various parts of the community were part of that. So the fourth point is also very important, that this facility is unique and will serve as a model for the rest of the nation. It became increasingly apparent that as we went through the process of dealing with the building department and just every facet that we had to deal with, that it really was a difficult design to make work, and but it had to work. And so coming together and putting all the pieces together the way they are is really something that can work now anywhere. It's an amazing program that echoes what Bill's approach was and incorporated in the building. Next slide. And I think Bill described these. He talked about the housing at Cesar Chavez and Creekside. Bill, is there anything you want to add with this? It started with the meals program, right?
Yeah, it's just, I think it's just that, my approach over the years has been just a few things. One is that there's no one solution for help folks to move off the streets, frankly. Everybody has individual needs, and you have to have different ways to actually have people access to services and assist them to actually reach a goal of getting off the streets and into permanent housing. So I know there's, some approaches now that kind of, transitional housing, which was when I started here was kind of the model HUD liked, has now been replaced by housing first. And so, but in my mind, you need to have a mixture of all those things to actually assist folks in becoming functioning members of the community again. And I think that's what Paul's Place is about, and that's what Cesar Chavez and Creekside is about, is kind of incorporating these folks back into the community fabric and getting to be functioning members of the community again.
And it serves over 1,700 men, women, and children each year. It's really important. Next, please. And I just wanted to go back to when I got involved with the ideas that Bill had been working with. I co-founded the Davis Opportunity Village group, and we were looking for ways at the time to be building tiny house villages because that was what everybody was doing. And so I came up with 10 points to figure out a way to have things happen in Davis so that we could build our own version of a tiny house village to house the Davis homeless and to supplement what was already being done in Davis. And it's been interesting to go back and look at this and realize that we basically kind of followed what we did. And one of the really important aspects of working on Paul's Place and coming up with that replacement building for the house that you saw was to really have the support of the community, both neighbors and politicians and the business community and everyone else. And I think that's a really important part of working on projects like this, so that it's really understood that it's really important, that it matters, that it's positive, and it's really something that's with and for the entire community in every aspect. So given that we had this project to work on, which was replacing the little house, it turned out that the land area that it was on was 0.26 acres. and had its own rules about setbacks and height limits. And I was absolutely determined to stay with what was already decided to be the limits, because this was in an existing neighborhood. And I wanted to make sure that whatever was built and whatever I designed that would fit within that envelope that was given to me. So I developed plans for, instead of your standard tiny house village, it was a vertical tiny house village that was 4 stories. Anyway, next slide, please. So this again is the resulting building that replaced that little house. And you can see hints on the side there of the 2-story complex that's on the right. And this project is again, as I say, 4 stories, which in the context, it was wonderful that we were able to accomplish that, so that we could fit more of the program and places for people to be able to live. So again, Sutter Health was instrumental in being able to get this off the ground, and I think that's an important thing to maybe think of in other situations, that it could be considered important to the healthcare community to be able to support projects like this as we look for ways to fund it. And again, this slide shows how we brought together the entire community, including the civic leaders and nonprofit and faith-based organizations. I think that's a really important part of the process. It's again, it's a positive, wonderful project. Next, please. And I wanted to show with this that the red circle is where you can kind of see Paul's Place there. The site is in the town of Davis. You can see that it's right in the town. It's not somewhere out in the outskirts. There's a school that you can see with the field in the kind of in the foreground, and a big park up on the upper right. And we're in the valley, where the hills are actually can be seen from the windows in Paul's Place, which is pretty amazing. And so this is the context, and the road that it's on is actually parallel to train tracks, which is it's also a primary travel path for the town. And it's been really interesting to see how the project has been welcomed in the area. Next, please. I just wanted to show, just again, I think where you build the project is really important. So I just wanted to put the context in here. The park on the left, which also has a school and a library, and another school on the right, and you can see the tracks, and the red circle is where Paul's Place is. It's really part of the community. Next, please. And this is just closer. So again, what's been kind of intriguing about the context with having the railroad tracks right across the street is that it's also an area of green, and it's somewhat private for the building itself to be able to look out onto that. It's almost like a miniature, tiny little green space, instead of being surrounded by buildings. So it's on the edge of the neighborhood, but it's in the middle of town. So it's been a really interesting process as we figure out for the future, where do projects like this work? How do people feel comfortable within the cities and towns where they are? Next, please. So just to kind of tell you what's in Paul's Place, there are 18 300 square foot micro units. There are a few that are larger, but they're mostly 300 square feet. It's permanent supportive housing. So the top 2 floors are each floor has 9 units. And the permanent supportive housing, which I think Bill is in a much better position to describe, and I think he started that as well. Maybe I need to let him talk about these. So basically in concept, the 10 single residence units are basically bedrooms, and there's a communal kitchen, family room, and bathrooms. Okay, where I have to hurry. So okay, well, let's go on, and we can just go through the slides, and we can get into, you can keep going. This is the way they're organized. Keep going. So the first floor, I just wanted to point out this is kind of one of the first drawings of the concept. And again, please remember, this is on a quarter acre, and so the amount of parking is limited because it's because of the program is this was approved with the amount of parking. There are 4 emergency beds in basically two to a room, where the police can come and bring people who need to have a bed for an overnight. It was interesting talking to the police and how they really needed to have something like that. So you can see that on the right. And then on the left are the staff offices, resource center. There are 3 showers available for people, and laundry area for, this is the first floor where people can just come for day use, and they can, there's food available in the kitchen. Staff is there able to talk to them about ways that they can help themselves in terms of maybe job hunting or unit hunting or whatever it may be. Support services are there, and access to showers, baths, and laundry facilities, which are really vital. And people come here and I've watched them. They're so pleased, and they're so happy to be able to be there. And then the outside area is just space to be, and for the people who use the building to also use that outdoor space. Next, please. The second floor is the 10 bedrooms, and then a common family room and kitchen. So it's like, I think of this is transitional housing, but I think of it as like a house. It's a house with bedrooms, and people have a family room where they can hang out, and a kitchen space. And there's also staff offices and place for staff to be overnight. Next, please. 3rd and 4th floors are the same, and they are those 300 square foot units. And as I was doing this vertical tiny house village, I loved the idea that the units were 10 by 30. So they could be tiny houses somewhere on open land at 10 by 30. But here they were vertical, and access from a common area, which is kind of their living room and community space, and then the bedroom in the back was a window to the outside. Next, please. I wanted to show a picture of this opening celebration, which was again February of this year. And what was amazing about this for me was just the joy that the community had in celebrating this opening. And for those who are not from Davis, you don't realize, but like in that front row with me is the mayor of the town, Will Arnold, and up in the balconies is the county supervisor, and actually 2 of them. And I mean, it brought everybody together. Everybody saw this as a really positive thing, still do. And I think as we work on solving these problems, I think that is just absolutely essential. And the people who are using it are feel just it makes so much difference. But as I say, everybody was there that day, and including the people who supported it financially. So next. just wanted to point out that the Sutter Health, these are the entities that were part of the creating this building. Davis Opportunity Village, which, as I say, was a group of us who wanted to build some tiny house village, but I love the fact that this is a vertical one. It's a better use of space, and I was the only architect in the group, so that made it really interesting. And Davis Community Meals and Housing, Sutter Health, the town of Davis, the county Partnership Health, and Yolo County Housing gave us ideas and thoughts as well. So it's a very, it comes from the heart, and it comes from the community, and I love that. Next, please. And I just wanted to show you some close-ups of the rooms. As I say, it just got occupied not too long ago. So the first floor is the red floor. All the doors are red, and it's the one that you enter through the red H. And this is an entrance to one of the emergency shelter rooms with beds in it. Next, please. And this shows you, on the left is a slide of the common space on the blue floor, which is the transitional housing floor. And I had said that there are bedrooms, and then there's the common space. So this is the common area with the kitchen on the left that people can come and cook, and they can have common meals or enjoy their time together. You can see there's a TV, and then there's the balcony out to the front, which you saw in the celebration in the picture of the exterior. Those balconies are really important to connecting to where they are. On the right is one of the top two floors. This is the yellow floor with, again, the common space in the middle, a big table in the back, and seating in the front. And then the doors are to the people's private spaces. Next, please. And this is one of the units, just showing you the kitchen that they have, the bed in the back, the window. They can bring in whatever they want to make their home there. And next. And then this is just a bedroom on the right, which you can see a friendly pillow there that somebody brought. And then on the left is the view from inside one of the rooms and looking out into the hallway or the common space. Next, please. And this is the view from a few days ago at dusk. And anyway, that's my last slide. And it just looked to me like, and everybody got out of the picture so I could take the picture, but the people who live there are so jazzed, and they just couldn't stop talking to me about what all the building was about. So and there's the Golden Hills, and they can climb. They were going up and down the stairs. This has been a great project, really fun to work on. And I thank Bill for his amazing insight into just thinking about how to help people, and then giving me the ideas for the architecture. And so it's your positive, permanent, supportive housing. So there you go. Sorry for taking so long.
Thank you so much, Maria. Yeah, we are so jazzed to have you here and have this really exceptional lesson in urban design and in how to really include community in creating various types of housing within the same development. We really appreciate the focus on context, so that in the context photo, it doesn't really even appear as a 4-story building next to other lower scale buildings. Not that 4 stories isn't lower scale. And we did have a question about the height of the building, to see that usually 3 stories is the limit for a building without an elevator. So
it has an elevator.
It does have an elevator. Great.
Yes.
We've had a couple of questions regarding funding. If you can, we understand that Sutter Home has approached the group to fund the project. And then there were numerous other donations after solicitation and no federal or state funding in the project. Is that correct?
Well, there eventually was state and city funding in the project.
Okay.
When we first started out, after we got the commitment from Sutter of the $2.5 million matching grant, we hired a local firm called Lester Consulting to help us go out in the community and raise the funding. And for the following year and a half or so, I worked with some folks from there, and I think I must have sat down with well over 150 different people, going over our vision of what we're going to change from the existing building to the new building, and seeking contributions from the local community. We were very successful. We did raise $2.7 million of funding from the local community, and also from different foundations and other nonprofit organizations in the area, but the bulk of it came from individuals living in the city of Davis. And just to give you an idea, Davis is a university town, and is considered a more affluent area in the Sacramento Valley, frankly, than most other communities. So I think the result we got there was certainly fabulous, frankly. I mean, as Maria showed, having all those people come out and celebrate the opening of a facility to serve homeless folks in any community would be amazing. To have 100 people show up, but we had 300. So we got a lot of community support. So
that's amazing. That's an amazing success story, and one of the aspects to really illuminate about this project, that it was a community-led effort with the Davis Opportunity Village and yourself, Bill, in the leadership to initiate the project, rather than a developer-driven project. And we need all of those models to solve these really challenging issues. We do have a question regarding the recidivism rate back into the streets. Are you successful in transitioning folks to permanent housing, or does some percentage get back onto the street?
Overall, probably over the years, I would say we've usually got about a 70% success rate of moving folks into housing. In our permanent supportive housing, we're actually just started occupying the units back only 2 months ago. So far, everybody's that moved in has stayed. I mean, I know in other projects they have, like Cedar Showers and Creekside, you will have, out of the 25 units I have in those facilities, 1 or 2 will probably leave throughout the year for various reasons and be replaced by other folks.
Well, that's really amazing. I have so many more questions, and I really thank you for giving an overall view and a detailed view of the interior. There's so much more to learn about this project, and we do need to move to the project of the Orcutt Senior Living Project. So I want to thank you, Maria and Bill, and introduce Hessam Fakili, who has been dedicated to design excellence, enriching community, and improving accepted standards. Hessam is passionate about enriching communities, impacting lives through the power of placemaking. He has diverse experience in providing innovative design solutions for both local and global projects. Hessam offers 23 years of experience in design and planning of resilient mixed-use education, residential housing, site planning, and large-scale urban centers. So thank you so much, Hess, for being here to represent your project and bringing your team members with you.
No, I appreciate that, and thank you for everyone attending. So, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the AIA California Urban Design Committee, distinguished guests and fellow community members, welcome to this special town hall. It's the second one of our 2 case studies for Gimme Shelter, and this is called the Orcutt Union School District Senior Living Project. located in Orcutt, California. We're super delighted to have you join us today as we talk about this exciting development that promises to shape the future of our community. So the Orcutt Union School District project is a groundbreaking initiative. It reflects a commitment to innovation, intergenerational care, community building. It's spearheaded by Tate and Associates, a family-owned multidisciplinary civil engineering and development firm. I'm going to share my screen, if that's okay with you guys. Let's see. Share screen. Boom. So this is the ranch at Orcutt. Can everybody see my screen? Thumbs up. Yes, good to go. All right. So the Orcutt School District, let me get to the next. So the developer obviously is Tate and Associates. And I'll talk about Tate and Associates a little bit before we get into this one. So we're a family-owned multidisciplinary firm. And this endeavor really involved the transformation of about 9.5 acres of surplus land owned by the Orcutt Union School District into creating the senior living community. This resulted in a long-term ground lease opportunity. And we were able to go through a rigorous public request for proposals and RFP process. And this demonstrated the careful selection and consideration of this project. So before I get started, I mean, my name is Hessam Vakili, and I have the privilege of serving as the Director of Design and Development for Tate and Associates. As Stephanie mentioned, I have a passionate advocate for creating vibrant pedestrian experiences that revolve around the principles of live, work, and play. And I've dedicated my career to shaping communities and spaces that enhance quality of life for all. And the Orcutt Union School District embodies that very essence of these ideals. So I'm super thrilled to be part of this team that is kind of bridging this vision to fruition. So Tate & Associates as a firm, has a rich history of community-focused development and design. We believe that our work extends far beyond blueprints and structures. It's about creating places where people can thrive, connect, and enjoy a higher quality of life. The Orcutt project aligns perfectly with our core values and aspirations of our communities. And one of our core values is kindness. So this is an important key word to remember throughout this entire process. It's all about kindness. So I'd like to introduce a couple of super important people. The first one is Aaron Clark from Lenity Architecture. Aaron has played a pivotal role in assisting Tate and Associates in developing the visionary aspects of this project. His architectural insights and creative contributions have been invaluable in bringing the project's concept to life. Aaron's extensive experience in architecture and urban design has added depth and innovation to the Orcutt Senior Living Project. His collaborative spirit and commitment to creating spaces that enhance the lives of our community members have been a driving force behind the project's success. And last but not least, please let me introduce Marcia Santry from Tate & Associates. Marcia serves as the Senior Development Manager on the Orcutt Union School District project, overseeing its intricate development phases. Her leadership, organizational prowess, and dedication to the project's mission have been evident through this entire journey. Her role is crucial in navigating the complexities of entitlement, design, and community engagement, ensuring that the project remains on course and aligned with its vision. So Aaron and Marcia, these two really exemplify the collaborative spirit and experience that drive the success for this project. And we're super grateful for their contributions. Okay, so let's get into the fun stuff, right? So where is Orcutt? To be honest with you, I don't even know where Orcutt is sometimes, but it is in Santa Barbara. It's a unincorporated city in Santa Barbara County. So the project is located on approximately 9.5 acres. And it's a very ambitious vision. And the vision is creating an innovative intergenerational care model, fostering meaningful connections between seniors and children within the school district. And at the heart of this project lies a profound belief of intergenerational connections. Seniors have a vast array of experiences, knowledge, and mentorship to give, while students and the student youth are eager to absorb that very same wisdom that seniors have to offer. This unique interplay between generations forms the cornerstone of our endeavor. One fun fact that I've learned is that one of the leading causes of senior deaths is really just loneliness. And this kind of reiterates the fact of kindness coming into play a little bit. So I'd like to hand it over to Aaron Clark, the architect on this project, to kind of go through the plan a little bit and some of the renderings that we have. So Aaron, feel free to kind of take over and let me know if you want me to make any changes to the slides.
Yeah, thank you, Hassan. Yeah, thank you everyone for being here today. I'm very honored to be presenting this project. It means a lot. It's funny that Hassan mentioned kindness because lenity actually, the definition is gentleness and kindness towards others. And, you know, this project is very near and dear, being 31,000 people. You know, I grew up in a small town of 31,000 people. And very honored to be kind of working on a master plan that can hopefully have a great impact for the community. So in regards to the components of the development, the project includes a 2-story memory care and assisted living facility with 115 beds. There are 49 independent living units in a separate building. There are 18 senior duplexes, and there are 20 units of workforce housing. There's a great and diverse offering that will cater to varying needs of the community and the seniors. We wanted to create a design that was very pedestrian oriented. So Clark Avenue, no inspiration, is actually 3 blocks north of the project. And that entails, it's like the Old Town Main Street. It's got market, bakery, restaurants, cafes, bars, and a market, everything you could want and need. And this will serve as a great adjunct to that Old Town Main Street. 3 blocks, it's a great pedestrian walking experience. We designed the project with context in mind relative to the neighboring properties to the east, stepping and tapering the design. We created a primary vehicular circulation around the property, and that provided entry sequences into the campus that allowed for more pedestrian-oriented experiences and an opportunity for people in terms of the people experiencing to come together in those outdoor spaces. The senior living community isn't just about housing, it's about creating a vibrant and inclusive environment where generations can come together and learn and share. So at the heart of the project, and it's highlighted in the dark red roof, is a care center. And that allows, the purpose of that building is for seniors and the daycare residents on the project to come together. So if you can imagine seniors sharing their rich life experiences, offering mentorship and guidance to the young minds of the Orchid School District. You know, you can picture our youth eager to absorb the knowledge and wisdom that our seniors bring to the table. This exchange of wisdom and the bonds that form in these communal spaces are at the heart of the project. And so the heart of the intergenerational component of this project is a 7,252 square foot daycare facility. That is intended to combine in partnering with the Orchid Union School District. We felt it was very important to bring that aspect into the project. The project also has a Play for All park. It's a fully accessible park for all people to be able to play. And it's a very important key aspect. It's a 3/4 acre park that's associated with the master plan. Beyond caring for our seniors, this project seeks to enrich the lives of the children within the Orchard Union School District. It aims to nurture, educate, empower, and inspire the next generation, fostering a stronger sense of community. Entitling such a transformative project is no small task. To meet regulatory requirements, our team has worked diligently processing addendum to previously approved environmental impact reports. And we've conducted various studies ensuring minimal environmental impact as we are committed to preserving the beauty of the natural surroundings. And then I'd like to hand it over to Marcia Santry to continue discussion on the entitlement status and the future outlook of the project.
Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it. So with the entitlement process, we did go through development plan. We had 3 conditions that were allowed to be waived utilizing the housing element under SB 330. We had some setbacks so that we could have some signage. We wanted more availability for students to be able to come into the daycare. And then ultimately we were able to provide everything that we wanted. We did go through an initial redesign during the design review process. They had us reduce the units fairly significantly. We were able to financially determine the viability would still be there for the project. So that did work out. And then we worked very closely with the County of Santa Barbara. The staff in the Planning and Development Department was instrumental in bridging the different departments together with the goal of everybody working together to provide this amazing concept for so many ages, so many needs, the intergenerational, as well as just the spectrum of going from independent living, from the duplexes and the quadplexes into assisted living and memory care. We have another building which houses employees for workforce housing. And one of the components in a small town, as you could imagine, we may or may not be able to actually rent out all of those units. So one of the elements that we did come to an agreement with the county as a stipulation would be that those units could be used for additional seniors if they weren't utilized for workforce housing, just so that the project wouldn't go empty and there wasn't a financial impact overall. But we were entitled about 9 months ago, and we're very excited to proceed.
Truly excited to proceed on this project. So essentially what the next steps are, we're looking ahead right now. The project will probably be constructed in phases, and we're anticipating that CDs or construction document process is probably going to take around 16 to 18 months. Construction itself is estimated to span several years throughout the phase development, but all in all, the Orchard Union School District project here promises a brighter and more interconnected future for the community. Between Tate & Associates, Lenity Architecture, CDPC, our landscape architect, and Calson Management for our operator on the senior housing portion of it, we're super excited to see this vision come to life. So I'll hand it back to you, Stephanie, and really appreciate you letting us sharing this project as a case study for the Urban Design Committee. So thank you.
And thank you so much for being here to share such an exciting project. I wanted to highlight that this, as everybody can see, this project is a And Hess, if you can please continue to share your screen for just a few moments so we can have a focused conversation on this really exceptional project. That this is in partnership with the school district. So as most people on the line here know, there is a recent California law that enables a significant 50% reduction in parking for schools or any institutional use in order to advance the goal of producing more housing. Marcia, I want to recognize you and thank you for your shout out to your planning team members. I want everyone to know that planning departments in your cities are your friends and will facilitate your development. Marcia, the whole team, if you can talk about that partnership with the school district. I'm a little disheartened to hear about the reduction in unit size. This project actually makes me think of a project, not a similar project, but a project that was proposed for the city of South Pasadena, very near to a light rail station that was actually killed by the public surrounding it. So if you can please talk about the partnership with the school district and the public engagement process, because those are two key pieces that we can take away and amplify across the state.
Sure. So one of the very cool parts of the partnership with the school district is obviously that they recognized that they had this excess land. They knew there was a need. They wanted to figure out a way to not only bridge the existing Oasis Senior Center that's in a small portable building, but bridge that connectivity with the generations. And so when our firm came in with this proposal, what they really loved is this community of kindness. Both of our firms, we live it. It's what we strive to do with our developments. It's critical for us. As Erin mentioned, the heart being where it comes together in the center of our project here. It's a common thread for us. But what was so exciting is just the idea that we could find a way to bring needs, meet needs that the community has, as well as the county, and then obviously for the community and aging seniors. A lot of people are driving 45 minutes. There's a shortage of senior housing. There's a shortage of care. It's a real issue, and I think that's why we had so much support from so many people. Even the neighbors, when we engaged with them, really they were supportive of the project. Their only complaint was that the existing condition had stormwater running into all of their backyards, and they asked, please, would it be possible to help us? And so, of course, we've designed a extraordinarily large storm detention basin so that it can capture those high flows, high volumes. But obviously we were sensitive to the ecological habitat that's downstream. So we kept the low flow is still able to trickle out to those places so that the environment isn't impacted. We're very blessed to work with the Parks Department also. There's an existing half-acre parcel right at that corner next to our park, and that is a county park also. So combined, we have 1.25 acre, and Erin worked on land planning, the design, so that people could traverse from one to the other, and it felt like it was designed to be a park in itself, not two separate pieces shoved together. So that was very helpful in listening to the community that they really wanted pickleball. We were a little concerned at first of the noise, but we figured, what better way to keep active adults active than to give them what they want to play. So we were happy to change that, and we're still trying to figure out if there's a space that we might be able to squeeze in a second court, so the high demand can hopefully be met. But that was.
I'm glad.
Oh, and I wanted to mention on the parking, this was very unique for us. So most of the time, unfortunately, we're always negotiating, what's the parking count really need to be? We ended up with 60% extra parking than what was required. It was amazing because remember, we got rid of 44 units. So when we got rid of the units, we didn't get rid of the parking. We kept the parking. So it's really beautiful for everybody who's coming to visit or living there. There's ample parking. So
I want to applaud you for fitting in. I want to applaud you for fitting in both a tennis court and a pickleball court, because the next thing that you'll see on the covers of the papers are the wars between the tennis players and the pickleball players.
Well, we had a basketball court, and we actually swapped the basketball court. We don't have a tennis court. We just have the pickleball. So, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, get ready.
Yeah.
That's what we hear at our council meetings.
Stephanie, one thing I wanted to add, if possible, was that, you know, when we worked with Lenity to create the vision of this project, one thing that did come to mind, obviously, in regards to kindness, was how does this become a national model for this type of typology of architecture to be implemented throughout the United States? Because there's going to be ample amount of surplus land that school districts have. I believe that you and I were, you know, on the urban design committee talking about, you know, excess parking lots, right? Or over parked lots that could be used for something other than a parking lot, right? So so we're really looking at surplus land opportunities, and obviously this was a P3 public-private partnership, but we really do see this becoming an opportunistic typology for a national model in the future.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, Hassam, because that's one of the goals, I think, of this talk, is to, if you could quickly identify, you know, key aspects of this that you think are scalable, repeatable across the state and the country.
Yeah, I mean, I think intergenerational care is one thing. I mean, as a working parent, I depend on my in-laws a lot. So being able to have that resource is profound. So if we're able to kind of bridge the gap between seniors and the youth, I think that we would be extremely successful, because, you know, seniors have, you know, rich life experiences, and, you know, they offer mentorship and guidance to the young minds. And this is an exemplary type of project where that is being showcased here. And we can only imagine when it does come into fruition that the project will be extremely successful.
And Jim Balderman is asking, isn't the key here that the workforce housing component that is really, really very unique in senior living establishments?
Yeah, it is, Stephanie. You know, the various uses in terms of the variety of housing types on the campus provides opportunities for, you know, multiple care and experiences. And so that's really key to the project. The fact that maybe a single mother can work at the assisted living or at the daycare and be there with the kids and walk to the town. It's really creating a community with diverse housing types, which is important. So thank you, Jim, for pointing that out.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And the integration with the community in the renderings, I don't see any line of security. Ronnie Gore asks, is the complex accessible to the public, or is there a fence? Will there be a line of security around the project that is not included in the renderings?
No, there is not anticipated to be fencing. Correct.
Yeah,
That's
all inclusive.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really exceptional. Do you foresee facilitation of interaction between the different populations on site, and also between folks that are on this site, the students, and also people in the general community, nonprofit organizations, et cetera?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to speak to that. In terms of bringing people together, the whole campus was designed with, you can see the care center in the building. And in fact, you'll notice that a lot of the architecture style is based on the Old Town Orchid design district. You'll notice that the care center at the center is, I wouldn't say contemporary, but it stands out. It's different. And that was created intentionally to symbol the future, that in that building there could be events like Christmas carols, where both children and the seniors could come together. That happens a lot occasionally with in facilities themselves, but it's just it's another gathering spot where the community can come together. We technically, Marsha could speak to this more eloquently than I can. Public parking, other than the park, was a contentious point relative to the community, but with the reduction in the units, I think there's an opportunity for open market type scenarios where the central courtyard has gathering spaces for the community also. So those are the types of things that the project is envisioning that we can kind of bring the community together and kind of connect the two.
That sounds really like a rich experience. Is there any anticipation that the I'm just going to call it excess parking on the project in a decade or two might be transformed into additional housing?
I don't think so. I mean, I could never say. Obviously, that would go back through a lot of conversations with the jurisdiction, making sure that's something. We did end up with 89 extra parking spaces, just to give an idea. We're all used to seeing how much parking fields take up in land. It's fairly significant. So anyway, we'll have to wait and see the demands.
I think it's very important. I think it's just very important to discuss the history of that and how that evolved. The independent living building was originally 3 stories. And the reason we did that, you can notice the 1-story elements to the north, which is imaged to the left, that was actually written into the EIR. And we had sensitivity to the east in terms of context for the neighborhood, setting the 2-story buildings back with the road and also single-story closer, but we had tiered the development further towards the bus yard and the church across the street. And so, but during community outreach, that was a discussion point that continued to be brought about. And that was a development that the development team decided to listen to the community and keep it within the context of the 2 stories. So.
Well, while that may be, in my opinion, to reduce density is always a little unfortunate, there are always compromises that have to be made between different groups and stakeholders. We certainly know that in Santa Monica and the other cities that I've served. What is really interesting for us in Santa Monica and other cities, as we see rapid changes at the state level for requirements in reduction of parking, as well as increased density. What might be really interesting, since this project may unfold over many years, is to see if there is an opportunity with the new legislation that comes into place to make addendums to the project, in 5 or 10 years time, to get that density back in, since you do have the parking that's available for it. Just just a thought. It's 4:16, so I'm sorry, it's 1:16. My bad. So I'd like to invite Maria and Bill back in so that we can have a conversation amongst all of us, because there are still some questions regarding Paul's Place that may be specific to Paul's Place, and also some similar questions that we'd like to ask to both teams. I think to both teams, what we'd like to talk a little bit more about is the intergenerational and varied component of the population for both projects. Specifically for Orcutt, there's a very specific question regarding is the senior living portion of the project, will that be licensed by the Department of Social Services? Preliminary comments on licensing this model.
Correct. The project will be licensed.
Excellent.
State licensed.
And for Maria, similar question regarding, and Bill also, if he's still here, to what is the sense, since you've been open since February and 300, not 100 people attended the opening, how is that interaction between the project, the population in the project, the administrators in the project, and the general population in the community? How is that happening and being facilitated?
You know, the project is located at a site that was in the neighborhood for many years before we built the new project. And it was specifically chosen because we had experience in that neighborhood. We had owned that property for many years and operated the programs there previously. And so it's kind of going seamlessly pretty much in the neighborhood at this point in time. I mean, the neighbors are kind of used to the folks coming and going. I know Maria showed that one slide of the view from up above, and you know, the kind of the good but bad thing about the neighborhood is that we're right across from railroad tracks, so it's not a great residential neighborhood. We are surrounded by some apartment complexes that mostly cater to UC Davis students, and so you know, most of the neighbors are kind of used to the idea of the folks that come to us for day services, the folks who live there. You know, they've been coming in and out of the neighborhood for many years, and generally without much incidents at all or interaction.
That's great. So there was really a built-in collaboration with the community from the history of the site, and also how the project was initiated and then realized. Regarding the Orcutt project, the perimeter road parking has, you know, implications for the center of the project, and maybe separates the surrounding area from the project. So you talked a little bit about, well, you talked actually a great deal about how the community, how important it is to have this kind of interaction. Other than the pickleball courts and basketball court, is that a primary sense of how that interaction will occur? It's the natural farmers markets that you think will occur? Is it more facilitation that you anticipate between the general community and the project?
I mean, just working with our landscape architect, CDPC, you know, we're definitely creating pathways from the adjacent neighborhoods to interact with our site. And obviously the park itself is kind of the major connecting point between the two parcels. So we're very engaged with the community. We're very engaged with the context. Remember, this is still on school land. So you know, we're respecting that, you know, there has to be some type of a kind of like a limit around of how much we can interact with the school itself. But the neighborhood itself, you know, we're trying to keep that open as much as possible so that we can get a lot of community involvement.
That's really great, and I love that there won't be any fences. I wonder if there's any anticipated security concerns with that level of openness,
You
or
know,
maybe that's Orcutt.
yeah, I mean,
The
you know,
difference between Orcutt and LA.
yeah, well, I mean, you bring up a very, very valid point. I mean, we live in the world of mass shootings on a daily constant now. So, you know, yes, it is in the back of our mind. I think it's more of, you know, creating a safe space for our community members, and hence the epicenter of the community center itself. And, you know, hopefully during our planning process, we can take consideration of having vestibules, perhaps with bulletproof glass or whatever it might be, in order to create some kind of a buffer between an outside member coming into the facility itself. But yeah, it's a very, very valid point. It is something that we have to take in consideration for sure.
And was there a focus for both projects? Was there a focus on, I know there was a focus on sustainability, and has there been a focus particularly on photovoltaics to ensure that energy efficiency?
We are actually having that installed next couple of months. I mean, initially
Excellent.
we decided not to do that because of a cost issue, but once we finish construction and we have a solar contractor coming out to install solar panels sometime in the next few months.
Yeah, and in terms of sustainability for the Orcutt project, I mean, Marcia had mentioned this earlier, you know, we're, as civil engineers, you know, first, before we were developers, is, you know, understanding the land context as much as possible and where we're shedding water and how we're recycling that water. So from sustainability point of view, you know, water is our main concern. I'm sure that we'll look into photovoltaics or any type of sustainable approaches in the near future. But right now we're just trying to get this thing started.
Right, absolutely. I wonder if we can get back to a point that we started with, and maybe throw this to Maria and Bill. What are the particular, since the funding aspects of the project, because the project was developed on a site that had lots of history in the neighborhood, because it was mostly privately funded, that makes it really unique in this world of affordable and supportive housing creation. What are the aspects that you believe could be repeatable in different kinds of municipalities? Say, you know, someplace like West Hollywood or Santa Monica, where there is greater density, a little bit more, shall I say, bureaucratic legislation, etc.
I think it is replicable other places. I think it's requires probably some unique aspects of the community that's going to support the project like that. Like I said, we're in a university town that we don't certainly have the worst homeless population in Northern California. You know, generally over the years, we've got about 175, 200 folks homeless in the city of Davis. Certainly not a huge number compared to LA or Sacramento. But the folks here were very invested in trying to come up with a good solution to the project or the problem. And so that led to us, you know, getting some great support from the local community to build this. And, you know, I think in some aspects, and I think if it's, you know, it's such a big problem everywhere now. I know just a few miles down the road here in Sacramento, there's pretty much tents everywhere throughout the Midtown at this point in time. And it certainly upset folks as far as, you know, the business owners, the restaurant owners, the folks who go downtown to, you know, visit those areas. That I think if it's done properly and you kind of connect with the community good enough, you can replicate this kind of project elsewhere. And there is some big cost savings you get if you kind of structure it correctly. I know somebody asked me a question about prevailing wage issue, and there is a prevailing wage exception if you fund the project and it's owned by a nonprofit at the end. And so that saved us a huge amount of money compared to what the per unit cost is if you're doing affordable housing under the traditional way with HCD funding, tax credit funding, those types of things, which tends to increase costs because of prevailing wage, Davis-Bacon, all those types of issues. So like I mentioned to somebody in an answer, our per unit cost for Paul's Place is about $170,000 a unit. For most
Wow.
around here, my last project was 320,000, and that was with tax credits and everything else. I've bought
Right.
to folks throughout the state. There's some places I know down in the area you're in, LA, coming close to $1 million a unit for construction costs. So, and with the number of folks in this state who need housing and the housing prices we have, to build housing in the way it's been going now would cost you literally hundreds of billions of dollars to solve the problem, to build enough housing to house all the folks who are homeless currently. So somehow there has to be some ways to cut the cost to actually get that accomplished.
That's a really key piece. So what I heard you say is that if a nonprofit owns the project at the end, prevailing wage is not required for building. What we've also heard is focusing on sites where similar uses have occurred, focusing on sites that are underutilized, that have parking attached to them, potentially with uses that buffer, such as in Paul's Place example, the train that is running alongside the front of it does in some ways buffer from the residential community, so that the project is deeply in the community, but also at a boundary of the community, which I think is a really interesting duality that may make the community a little bit more comfortable with it. For the Orchid Senior Living Project, the use of an institutional use parking lot, which the state is facilitating with the legislation that has coming through. And I would like to recommend that everyone on the call research what the ordinance changes are in your jurisdiction, and especially at the state level, so that you start having an understanding of the amazing opportunities to build more density in California, including SB 9, which allows potentially 6 to 8 units on a single family home. There's parking legislation that is making parking not required near transit and reducing parking requirements on civic use parking lots, existing parking lots. A whole host of legislation that the state is moving through in this time of focus for really trying to solve the problem of underhoused and homelessness. Frank Fuller is asking to Bill and Maria if the vertical model of tiny units with emergency services on the ground floor is also a really good aspect that can be replicated.
I think that's really important, because I think the fact that it fits on a 1/4 acre, because it's vertical, I think that's a really big deal. We were able to build an entire community on that land, where before there had just been basically a house or a house, 2 attached houses. I mean, it can be in so many more communities and neighborhoods by being able to be built on a smaller on a residential plot of land. And I think it works, and I think that's a big part that makes it replicable. And so many issues were solved by going through the process of getting it built, and the combination of the different functions and the different programs that are within one building and how they're sewn together. to take the plans and build what we built would save a lot of money and a lot of time, because these programs are complicated, and building officials are deep into understanding them better and better. So anyway, I think it's very replicable.
And I do want to applaud this team for the expertise that you've shared with this group. Certainly, there are a lot of very detailed questions, some detailed questions that we haven't exactly gotten to. I noticed it's a little after 1:30 now. I just want to applaud all the members of these two teams for their brilliance, their problem-solving capability, their generosity in being here today. You can find them all, and they are extraordinarily busy. So if you do have a question, be mindful that they are very busy. You can send your questions to me, Stephanie Reich. I'll put my information in the chat. And you can send those to me, and I'll see if I can field an answer to that question. That would be stephanie.reich@santamonica.gov, and I'll quickly type that while I thank everyone and invite Hessam and Maria to have a couple of last words.
I'll go first, Maria, if you don't mind. I just want to say thank you to AIA California, Lenity Architecture, CDPC, Callison Management, and obviously my very good colleague here, Marcia Santry. So without you guys, this event wouldn't have happened. So thank you so much to all of you, and Maria, thank you for all your help as well.
Oh, thank you everybody for participating in this. This is such an important topic. I really think we've got to keep doing this, and we've got to try to solve these problems. I thank Bill for the genius that he's the problems, the issues that he has helped to solve along the way, and then I could come along and work on the architectural part. That was a great opportunity for me, and the community of Davis was absolutely amazing, and every community should be like that. It's an adventure, and we're all in it together. So thank you.
We love the community of kindness. I will continue to use that. Places that matter to people, I will continue to use that. Thank you, Marcia, Aaron, Bill, Maria, Hessam, and Sarah for all your brilliance and making this talk possible today. I'm grateful to have been a part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all again, everyone, and thank you to specifically our panelists. Thank you guys so much for being here today, and all attendees that attended today's town hall. If you made it this far, AIA California will submit you for AIA credit. Please feel free to reach me at any time. Sarah Vasquez, AIA Climate Action Program Coordinator with AIA California. And thank you guys all so much again for being here today, and we look forward to seeing you at our next town hall. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.